Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is almost here, and with it we will get a ton of new content for the game. Not only will the official PS5 version be available, but we will also be able to visit Iki Island and continue our fight against tyranny. In celebration of the imminent release of the expansion, Sucker Punch has shared a launch trailer for the Director's Cut. While it shows off a few moments from the base game story, it focuses heavily on the beautiful and stunning landscape of Iki Island. The trailer itself is fairly short, lasting only 1 minute, but it has not failed to capture the excitement of fans. Veterans of the game will recognize certain scenes and locations, but there are plenty of new things to see coming with the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. The launch trailer starts out with Jin in his broken armor right after he reclaims the sword of Clan Sakai, but quickly transitions into gameplay. Jin can be seen dueling enemies, riding around the islands of Tsushima and Akishima, and even petting a cat. It also showcases Ghost of Tsushima Legends, the multiplayer expansion that is getting more content and a standalone release alongside the Director's Cut. The new version is looking to be every bit as gorgeous and immersive as the original, and those playing on PS5 will even get the benefit of having haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. The main draw of Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is Iki Island, a new region to explore full of quests, collectibles, and more. There are also many minor improvements, upgrades to the combat system, petting new animals, different armors for Jin and his horse, a better photo mode, and the ability to hide Jin's quiver. This is on top of all the free updates that have come to the game since launch, bringing with us a new Game Plus and the multiplayer mode, Legends, which will also get a brand new Rivals mode content in 2 weeks, and a standalone release of the multiplayer. I highly recommend this game. If you have not played it before, get it now on the PS5 or the PS4, which system you have, and I am pretty sure you will love each second of in Tsushima, Akishima, and in Legends. Moving forward, Intel announces its new range of products called Intel Arc, which includes graphics cards that could rival the two main competitors in the market. In the world of GPU technology, there are only really two big names, AMD and Nvidia. With graphics card prices now starting to come down after several months of a deficit brought on partly by a semiconductor shortage and bots bulk buying hardware, it seems as though people will start buying tech again soon. However, a new player is about to enter the arena, which could give the aforementioned two giants a run for their money. And that player is Intel. Normally associated with CPUs, the tech mogul has recently thrown its hat into the GPU ring after announcing Intel Arc, which it describes in a recent tweet as high-performance graphics. It seems the company will be rolling out graphics cards for both desktop PCs and laptops. While there is no finalized date as of yet, the official website says people can expect them to hit the market at around Q1 2022, which is only a few months away. In a video posted to the website, the upcoming hardware product, which was originally the Intel DG2 announced earlier this year, will be codenamed Alchemist, with following iterations being called Battlemage, Celestial, and Druid. It seems as though with this naming system, Intel is going for an RPG theme, which does tie in with them expanding into graphics cards. It's worth saying that this is on top of other hardware that will be put out by the company, including memory and software. However, one question that may be on PC enthusiasts and gamers' lips is whether or not Intel's upcoming GPUs will be available. There are still some issues with people getting hold of products, with one young person only able to get hold of an NVIDIA 3090 through a loophole. However, given that the first wave of Intel cards are not due until next year, it's entirely possible that the market will have mended itself by then. It's difficult to say how far this new endeavor will go. With the likes of AMD having just launched its new RC 6600 XT, Intel is going to have to work hard to make an impact on the market. New graphics cards are coming out regularly, so there's already quite a lot to choose from. That's not to say there isn't room for another tech giant, but it's unsure exactly what Intel can offer the gaming community that the likes of AMD and Nvidia don't already offer in droves. Epic Games is now one of the most successful companies in the world, due in large part to the incomparable success of its battle royale game Fortnite. Its success is paired with a focus on independence, as Epic Games strives to separate itself from third-party storefronts like Steam, the Apple App Store, and Google Play. At one point, it seems, this effort pushed one company, Google, to the extreme of considering acquiring some or all of Epic, or at least that's what Epic alleges. Epic Games is currently embroiled in multiple lawsuits across the world against both Apple and Google regarding each company's mobile storefronts. A new document stemming from Epic's case against Google in the USA detailed what Epic describes as Google's effort to maintain its monopoly. It alleges that Google uses its size, influence, power, and money to push partners into anti-competitive agreements, and that when that fails, Google considers even more extreme methods of control. With Epic Games at one point detaching itself from the Google Play Store in order to avoid the storefront's 30% fees, Epic alleges that Google considered an extreme alternative option. It says that Google contemplated buying some or all of Epic in order to keep Fortnite within the Google Play Store environment. The accusation being that Google didn't just want the money from Fortnite's sales, but rather considered Fortnite's independence from the Google Play Store a threat that could lead to other companies separating from the storefront. Unfortunately, there is no specific evidence available of Google's attempt to acquire some or all of Epic available at this time. Epic says that it's only now learning about Google's efforts to shut down its competition with the Google Play Store. As such, Epic's representation of the matter may be exaggerated or spun in a way that isn't entirely fitting. That said, if it said it in front of a judge, then there is something to it. Google considering acquiring Epic Games removed from context is obviously not illegal. It hardly seems realistic, however, considering how much Epic's value has climbed over the past 5 years. In the context of Google striving to maintain control over Android devices and funneling all app sales through the Google Play Store, it's certainly an unsettling point. If Google would try and buy a company worth tens of billions of dollars to maintain control, how can much smaller third parties compete? Epic's court case against Google, as well as its court case against Apple and several other lawsuits outside of the United States, continue to move forward. It's impossible to tell whether the cases will end in Epic's favor, never mind what that might mean for Apple and Android devices. Regardless, more information comes out seemingly every week that's unsettling to the average consumer. Epic's cases are at the very least providing that new awareness of what's going on. Speaking of Epic, an investor report from Remedy Entertainment hints at a new AAA game in full production that may be the anticipated Alan Wake 2, which is said to be published by Epic Games. With a resume including the first 2 Max Payne games, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and Control, Remedy Entertainment is certainly no stranger to story-driven, stylish action games. With its most recent title, Control, having been first released in 2019 and sold 10 million units, Remedy fans have patiently waiting to see what the developer has in store next. Many players have been wishing for a follow-up to the atmospheric horror action title, Alan Wake, released in 2010 on PC and Xbox 360. After teaming up with Microsoft and Xbox Game Studios for the aforementioned Alan Wake, and then sci-fi shooter Quantum Break, Remedy Entertainment joined up with publisher 505 Games for the critically acclaimed Control. While 505 Games and Remedy have been pretty tight-lipped about their upcoming projects, a recently released report for investors has revealed some intriguing details about a possible Alan Wake 2. In the report posted to Remedy's investor site, the company highlights its successes over the past 2 fiscal quarters and lays out its plans moving forward. It references an unnamed AAA project made in collaboration with Epic Games of Fortnite fame. This project is rumored to be the much-anticipated sequel to Alan Wake, although this has not been officially confirmed. The title has now moved into full production. The report also mentions several other games that are coming. Remedy has signed a co-publishing and development agreement with 505 Games for a multiplayer spin-off of Control. This project, codenamed Condor, is a 4-player cooperative title. Remedy and 505 are also looking to release another larger budget title in the Control universe. On top of all that, it is also working on Project Vanguard, a free-to-play co-op game, another unnamed, smaller-scale single-player title, and assisting developer Smilegate with its competitive shooters, Crossfire X and Crossfire HD. While all of these projects may sound like too much to take on, the success of Control has allowed Remedy to expand its team to 293 members. It's also important to note in the case of Crossfire X and Crossfire HD, Remedy is taking more of a support role in development with Smilegate doing the primary work. Remedy has been consistent with its game releases, with Control coming only 3 years after 2016's Quantum Break, so fans shouldn't need to worry about the developer taking on more than it can handle. Epic Games has been pushing hard for developers to use their storefront to help them build market share over Steam. Control was exclusively released on the Epic Games Store for a year on PC before it came over to the competing marketplace. With Epic Games and its extensive resources collaborating with Remedy on this new AAA project, we may get to see Alan Wake 2 sooner than we think. Square Enix and People Can Fly released Outriders earlier this year, but the game may yet to break even financially. Outriders is one of the prominent third-party titles offered through Xbox Game Pass, and that may play a role in the losses they took. According to developers at People Can Fly, the team has yet to receive any royalties from publisher Square Enix. Having received no royalties from the first quarter sales of Outriders, People Can Fly presumes the game has yet to become profitable. The developers claimed in a recent investor note that it was due royalties from sales of Outriders only after all costs of the game had been recovered by Square Enix. According to the People Can Fly's engagement numbers, the looter shooter was able to reach 3.5 million Outriders players in the first month alone. Although this is a major community of players to reach, the costs of making the game may not have yet been recouped by Square Enix. People Can Fly is still working out the financial details, so it may discover why it isn't receiving royalties. People Can Fly CEO Sebastian Wojciechowski recently went on the record to say that the team doesn't have official Outriders sales figures. The team estimates that 2 or 3 million copies of Outriders have been sold, and that this should have been sufficient to secure royalties from Square Enix. According to the CEO, Square Enix may not see the title as profitable, or that it has broken even. The with this is that the game released broken at launch. By releasing a high-budget game on Game Pass, could affect the profitability, because of the majority of consumers on Xbox not buying the game. Game Pass can be good to some indie developers that are in the doubt whether the game will sell or not, and also to games that have been out for a long time before going into the serifs. But for high-budget AAA games by major publishers, the model would not suit for business if they go day and date, as Sean Layton and Take-Two's CEO Strauss Zelnick already commented on that. Same thing with the quality of the game, as we have discussed before in many occasions. Xbox had no choice but to create a day-and-date model service, because of the sales drop they saw in their first-party games, and multiplats that sold poorly on Xbox when compared to PlayStation. To back this we can see the latest statements given by Capcom, where Xbox platforms accounts for a low percentage of their game sales. This can be a reason where some of the indie developers go with the Game Pass, but the big games like Battlefield do not. Another issue that may be a factor in this Outriders royalty issue may have been determined by some elements of Square Enix's sales policy, the details of which we do not know, such as partnerships concluded by the publisher with distribution platforms or entities offering the Outriders game as an add-on to their products. The various costs of Outriders that Square Enix is apparently trying to recover in order to reward the royalties include production, distribution, promotion, and quality assurance. People Can Fly has also officially confirmed that Square Enix owns the Outriders IP itself. Sebastian Wojciechowski also admitted that costs incurred by Square Enix with Outriders may be higher than the developers expected. Square Enix previously believed that the Xbox Game Pass deal was justified in terms of player acquisition and digital sales, but according to this situation People Can Fly doesn't feel the service did a lot for them. Square Enix has also confirmed that Outriders is on track to becoming a major franchise, thanks to the large audience, but People Can Fly may seek these royalties before working on a sequel. The reason for the poorly sales of Outriders could be the quality of the product. But if this continues and releasing big-budget games day one on services does not mean anything and affects sales, I'm afraid that some big games could miss the Xbox platform entirely and go with PlayStation and PC, where their game sells well. If you have enough money, and if you like the game, buy it to support the developers, and you may get a sequel or additional content. Just don't wait for the game to drop on a service. Electronic Arts is fairly controversial within the gaming community. In fact, it is one of the most hated video game publishers, infamous for its embrace of loot boxes and other games as a service policies. The publisher's decision to delist several classic games from GOG.com didn't do much to improve its reputation. Good Old Games announced that several games would be removed at the publisher's request in late June. The games in question were Ultima Underworld, Ultima Underworld 2, Syndicate Plus, and Syndicate Wars. Electronic Arts published all four on DOS in the 1990s, and physical copies are now relatively difficult to get a hold of. While delisting the games didn't affect players who'd already downloaded them, it prevented any new players from trying out these classic titles. It also done the delisting of classic Need for Speed games, only to revert it later. The publisher did an about-face on August 6, and they are once again available from the digital distributor. Electronic Arts additionally made them free to play through September 3. The company also issued a statement partially explaining the original decision to remove the games from GOG, which the publisher acknowledged didn't fully consider players' perspective. The company's marketing vice president, Chris Bruzzo, explained what happened in a statement to GamesIndustry.biz. According to Bruzzo, EA usually takes time to carefully consider changes that affect players. However, the publisher neglected to do so in this instance. He claims the studio didn't realize the strength of fans' passion for these games before delisting them. Bruzzo says that the company changed its mind after realizing the depth of fans' love for these games. The company has pledged to create a process to make sure the same misunderstanding doesn't happen again. Bruzzo also explained that the month-long free game promotion is the company's way of helping bring the classic titles to gamers who haven't had a chance to play them before. Of course, there are a few things that the VP's statement failed to explain. The first is why EA chose to remove the games without the supposedly standard level of consideration. He also never addressed EA's reason for having GOG delist the games in the first place. Both series have been mostly dormant for some time. Syndicate had an underperforming reboot in 2007, while the most recent Ultima games were a pair of now discontinued mobile titles. EA may be considering giving them updated re-releases similar to what it did with the Command & Conquer Remastered collection last year. Alternatively, the publisher may be considering another attempt at rebooting both series. However, this is ultimately little more than conjecture. Regardless of EA's motivations, all four games are once again available on GOG.com, and will hopefully remain there for the foreseeable future. Housemarque's PS5 exclusive roguelike shooter Returnal released in April 2021 to high critical and player acclaim, launching near the top of sales charts in different countries and receiving predominantly positive review scores from various media outlets. Returnal seems primed for some Game of the Year nominations, and, given the title's rewarding combat and intriguing storyline, it's not surprising that even other game developers were impressed by Housemarque's venture into psychological horror. Returnal follows the unsettling story of Celine, a space pilot who finds herself crash-landed on the planet Atropos, where she is inexplicably caught in a time loop. The planet is filled with strange and hostile alien life, and Celine quickly succumbs to their attacks. Yet after every death, Celine somehow resurrects, encountering the corpses of her former selves as she ventures into the ever-changing, i.e. procedurally generated, environment. In an interview with online magazine Coming Soon, the creative director of the action roguelike Hades shared his appreciation for Housemarque's creation. Greg Kasavin of Supergiant Games revealed that the title is one of his favorite games of the year, even though he has yet to clear a run. Having played Returnal for several dozen hours, Kasavin explained that he has been following Housemarque's games for years. It just goes to show how much breadth there is in this genre. Both Hades and Returnal are categorized as roguelikes, but are extremely different in everything from art style to story to gameplay. In the interview, Kasavin stated that he loved how Housemarque took the arcade-style bullet hell combat from their previous releases and successfully molded it into a roguelike. The Supergiant developer compared it to how his company had taken the hack-and-slash combat of their narrative-driven RPG Bastion and incorporated it into Hades. Like Returnal, Supergiant's Hades has also earned its share of praise. The dungeon crawler launched on multiple platforms in September 2020 and recently joined the lineup of must-play games. Unlike Returnal Celine, who finds herself in a personal hell, Hades is actually set in hell, or at least a form of it. Players take on the role of the immortal prince of the underworld who, replete with mythical powers and weapons, struggles to break free from Hades, the Greek god of the dead. Throughout 2020 and 2021, Hades was nominated for and won a number of industry awards, including Best Indie Game and Critics' Choice at the Golden Joystick Awards, Best Indie and Best Action at the Game Awards 2020, and the prestigious Nebula Award for Best Game Writing. Perhaps another mark of the game's widespread success is the Hades-themed Nintendo Switch controller by PowerA that will be launching on September 17th. After all, I found both Returnal and Hades have their one identity, and both of them are great games, with dense lore, action-packed gameplay, and immersive interactive elements. And to finish, we have the latest collaboration of Ratchet and Clank with Rocket League. Lately, Ratchet and Clank has been with many collaborations like with Among Us, Fall Guys, and also Aloy in Fortnite and Genshin Impact. It's nice to see some of the limited-time events, popularizing the franchises even further. And Rocket League on the PS5 also got 120 frames per second support. We also have the newly released Black Panther expansion for Marvel's Avengers, which is War for Wakanda War Table, which is a free expansion with a ton of content. The expansion stands 17.7 GB on PS5 and 31.3 GB on Xbox Series X and S and PC. They utilize the Kraken compression technique here. And if PlayStation needs to make the ultimate crossover, I hope they bring PlayStation All-Stars back with a sequel and a brand new reimagining, or with a new name. PlayStation recently released some t-shirts embracing the iconic characters of PlayStation and Their Glory. I really want PlayStation to revive some of the older franchises that are dormant now, in which PlayStation All-Stars should be their first priority. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.